Hello. I feel like it's been a minute since I've sang into the video. We're different angle today because I wanted to get as much of the Saturn tapestry into the video as I could, which turns out isn't much because this I can't necessarily like angle. That's fine. Anyway, good morning. I know it's like not even 6:30 a.m. here. It's way too early to be drinking, but I'm afraid that I've established a cognitive behavioral link now in between going live and drinking something. Um, Also, I'm like so vain that I'm like, I just got my hair done. I have to go live so somebody can see it. And I got the sides flat twisted, which I've been wanting to do for like a while. And I was gonna do it, but then I wasn't gonna do it. But I was like, you know what? I'll just like ask for it. And so I did, and I did, and we made it work. Anyway, I don't know how much of today's video is going to stay up. If like it shuts me down, it shuts me down. I have this book, The City of Brass, that I've been wanting to read for a while. I feel like I don't have enough free time, even though I get like 4 days off, because it's like I want to read this book, but also I have shows. Eve, good morning. Have one for you, like a sip or a whole drink, like because I can. I needed to get these out of the refrigerator, so that's my excuse this morning. As always, as a disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by alcohol, but it does promote, this channel does promote the message to drink responsibly if it's something that you do, right? And you are of age. Okay, well, I'll get through this one and then we'll see. I'll probably move on to another one. How are you doing this morning? But it's like I got games to play, I got shows to watch. I don't have time to read this book, even though I really want to get into it. But I have some flights coming up, so. Maybe I'll get them read on the plane. You spark your coffee if you didn't have to work in an hour. See, one of my coworkers was like, he was about to get off. He was like, I want to go home and drink. I was like, why don't you? He was like, because it's unethical. I was like, why is it unethical? He was like, because I got to work tomorrow. I'm like, oh, well, like, you don't have to get messed up. Like, you can just have a little drink, right? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I will take plenty of sips for you. Yeah, and you're like busy over there. I guess I wouldn't advise it. But who knows, maybe your most productive day so far. This is funny that I find these. I just found some bus tickets that I have. Wow, that was almost a year ago. And it's funny because in a few days I'll be going to the exact same place. I don't know. We'll see. I have this book and I was just going to like open it to a random page and pull cards. That's what I'm saying. I was like, you could just have a drink after work. Like, you don't have to be back for another 12 hours. And you're going to like go to sleep after that. But maybe he meant like, maybe he needed a little bit more than just, a casual sit. I was like, I drink all the time. So yeah, I have this book that I'm gonna open it. We'll see, because these passages that I'm like opening to, I'm like, I don't know if this will work, but maybe it will. How many pages are in this book? This is probably the thickest book that I will voluntarily be like, oh my gosh, I want to read it. There's a prologue to this book at the end of the book. The prologue to the book is after the book is over. Oh, yes. So, ooh. See, also, like, I'm doing this, but I don't want to spoil the book. So, because I don't even know if I've read a page yet. 526 pages looks like. And then there's like a glossary and an acknowledgement and a prologue. So like there are more pages, but I guess these pages don't have numbers. So numbered pages, there are 532. And there's like a 28 page PS about the author, about the book, a bonus scene, a reading group guide. What? Hold up, what? A guide to. That's weird. Anyway, like more than 500 pages. Is that not crazy? So today I was gonna like share a few things that I've noticed through the readings lately, because it's been like some of them have been like very like, this is wild, I don't know what this means. Also, if I can remember, like I could make a community post, but then I'm like, oh, that's so much work. And it isn't that much work, but also at the same time, I'm like, it's not worth it. So the first thing yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I probably need to not be as loud because I have neighbors and it's like 6:30 in the morning. But anyway, so with the letting go, and it was like we're letting go of the high priestess in death, but holding on to the son, partnered with that, like just the whole reading basically about that right time, perfect evade, perfect dodge, perfect parry at the last second, about putting ourselves in danger only for it to turn out miraculously. It's almost like maybe we're in a time that is especially, I was going to find a picture, but it's like a nerve ending. And there's like, I'll just draw it. Okay. It's like maybe we're at a nexus of destinies, if that makes sense. Blah, 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 blah. Actually, why don't I do that? Yeah, I need more. This isn't giving me enough. I don't know why I don't use this more often. I have this whole little program right here. No, delete. We're deleting it. It's fine. So I need something thick. Ooh, so many options. Oh my gosh. Too many options. Okay, thank you. So we're at this potentially. at this next at this nexus of destinies. And it looks like this. Which ones are coming? Which ones are going? I have no clue. But imagine it like this, I guess. And we are here. I did not know that this had so many options. I feel like this is new. So it's like, oh, look, it's all the way over here now. We're at this nexus of destinies. Like these are all different pathways through life that all have their own nexuses. Some of them like 2 branches, 1, whatever. But it's like because there are so many different ways that something could go. And because more often than not, things come to us for us through the path of least resistance, it like, so if we have resistance to like certain paths, let's use colors. So red is like lots of resistance. And this is just, you know, orange is less resistance. And then green is going to be like little to no resistance. And then this purple one will be like the path that we're currently headed on because, and now I'm looking at this, I'm like, I feel like I drew it wrong, but it's fine to illustrate the point. Look how long that is. Anyway. So red is like high resistance, orange is substantial resistance, green is little to no resistance, and purple is basically the path that we're on because it aligns with where we're going. And so it's like if we have a lot of resistance to a thing, it makes it more difficult to like pursue these pathways. And then like here's another nexus of destiny up here that connects to different nodes. I guess a nexus is a destiny point of 3 or more. It's a node with 3 or more paths. So like this would be a nexus. This is a nexus. This is kind of a nexus. And these are just like nodes. That's a node. There's a node. Anyway, not that it matters. But so like with resistance, like there are many different types of resistance. And one type of resistance is expectation. Or yeah, it's expectation. But it's like there are many things that go with expectation. Expectation because like this is the way that things always happen. Expectation because of what we want. And expectation because of like this is the way that we're interpreting interpreting signs, symbols, synchronicities. Please don't say that. No spiders, please. But you know what? Spiders you might see here and there, but they do, you know, serve a purpose. I'd rather see, you know, they take care of other pests. Out of sight, out of mind. Just, you know, spiders should be seen and not heard. I'm kidding. But so yeah, the high priestess in death was more like a expectation of, oh my gosh, my nose is running. I'll be right back. It's cold. And I like being cold, but I'm not trying to get sick because I got places to go. I'm not turning the camera off this time. Oh my gosh. Also, I've been using a bottle opener or the top popper to open these, and I can literally just twist them off. Anyway, so the high priestess in death is like, this is the way that I'm interpreting these symbols and synchronicities. This is what the divine has in store for me. And so it creates a resistance to other ways that could be interpreted, which was the danger of the high priestess that I was talking about, right? The high priestess has a knowledge of literally everything, and it sees a picture beyond the bigger picture with a detail that is finer than being an ant on the ground. And it's just like, it's not humanly possible to know of everything. Excuse me. And sometimes, again, when we are so sure, so certain, and so convinced of a certain way of interpreting something, it may limit our scope in terms of what it might actually be. Like, there's a difference between what something is and what something becomes, right? Like, if you're talking to someone, if you're communicating, there's a difference between like the message that you're attempting to communicate and the message that someone else receives. The words are the words, but you have a certain intention with the way that you strung them together, and they hear something based upon, like, both of you, based upon your experiences and vocabulary and contextualizations. You communicate in a certain way, and then based upon theirs, they receive it in a certain way. And it may align, it may be miscommunication. With the 88% though, that came out, it's like, it's mostly there. So again, maybe not too detrimental, but still not 100%. That 2% can be such a small difference that it produces, like, again, it puts you on a completely different path. And so it was almost like to let go of this trying to divine energy, like, what's going to happen for me? When is this going to happen? Should I do this? Should I do that? And with the sun, it's like to be more in the moment and to have it's almost like a active intuition rather than a proactive intuition. Rather than like trying to forecast out into the future, it's to have greater clarity and insight in the present to help you sort of like navigate to which, like, because when you arrive at this moment, it's almost like trying to be all the way down here or off of the phone down here. And you're trying to like go like, okay, well, this path through here, through there, through something all the way up here. And it's like we just nexus our node by node, nexus by nexus in the moment, with the sun being the thing. It's almost like living life is hard enough without imagining what your life is going to be like 5, 10, 15 years in the future. You know what I mean? Like trying to make decisions based upon a situation and a scenario that you're not even in yet. Like real life isn't one of those, what would you do? Because we don't know until it happens. So anyway, like that was the like letting go of the high priestess in death and the sun. And then the nexus of destinies was my attempt at explaining or like thinking of a reason why that may be the case. And it's just because everything is so volatile. Or not even that, just like, again, in simpler case, if it were a one-to-one, one path to one node to one path. And a node, like, because I did that. And again, I'm just some dude who doesn't know anything about anything. So always take it as a resonance, use your own intuition, discernment. And if it don't make sense, don't take it. Because it's like one of these actually didn't even have a path, but you wouldn't be able to tell because there was a different one. Like some of these have like a path, a node, a path, path, node, path. I think it was this one. Yeah, this one was just like a floating node. It's like all of a sudden, out of nowhere. Maybe it's there's a what's the word? Discontinuity. Maybe it's like a miracle. There's something miraculous and wildly unexpected that is seemingly not connected to anything else. It just like comes literally out of the blue. And it's just like random node with a path that goes from out. But anyway, those nodes are important. It may be like an important time in our development. It may be an important choice or decision that we have to make. It may be something that we experience that affects us greatly and tremendously and has an impact on who we are, either positive or negative. And so, even though it's like it doesn't branch out into multiple paths, there's something about that, again, node that is significant. And that's why it's a node instead of just being a part of the path. Ooh, OJ. I should really change my name to OJI. Welcome to Oracle Juice Intuitive. I can only get through a YouTube live if I have alcohol. I'm playing. Just kidding, jokes. I did the last one without alcohol. I did that one with coffee and tea. Wait, what did you say? Was it hibiscus tea and coffee? I don't remember. I was like, I should try that. The wine substitute. Grape juice and hibiscus tea. Was that it? Anyway. So yeah, that's just like my, like, why, what is one possible explanation why we would be advised to not high priestess and death card? And but also before that, with the, what was it, the Knight of Pentacles? Was that the one with the Knight of Pentacles and then the Nine of Cups? I think it was. Hibiscus and grape juice. Okay. I just feel like I'm curious now. It was the Knight of Pentacles, the Seven of Pentacles, a bunch of cards, and then the Nine of Cups. And it was like, we have this vision of where we want to go. This is what we think we have to do in order to get there. May or may not be true. Also, again, with the paths of least resistance, there are some of these paths that lead to more potentials than others. And potential both in the way of where did it go? I just lost it. Oh my gosh. I just lost it. And it didn't even save. Anyway, you'll have to go back. We have wiped the board clean. Maybe that's illustrating my point in and of itself, you know? Like, forget what we think we know about paths and don't even listen to Patrick. Maybe that's the don't listen to Patrick because, or maybe that was like, ooh, if you didn't catch it, it's gone. That was a glimpse. Also, as a side note, as a side note, I saw Sand's video that she released recently about her journey. And then, of course, because I'm a weirdo, it made me think of like those few times, and I can't even remember the videos. I wish I could, so I could go back and watch them. But it's like those few times when I was like, this is getting like extra weird, trans-dimensional. Like, this is giving me Sand energy. And now I'm like, because she was talking about looking behind the scenes. And now I'm like, anyway. Anyway, like I said, neither here nor there. So that was that. There's been this story that's been for a long time. Oh, I could do that. Around the Ace of Swords. Especially, no, around the Archangel Commander. And the, around the Archangel Commander in the Spirit Keeper's Tarot. And he actually came out. So the Archangel Commander is Archangel Michael, and it was the story of Archangel Michael giving us the task of handling something ourselves, just to show us how capable we are in some kind of way, to give us a little bit more agency, maybe in our own lives, to take the wheel a little bit, so that we can like co-create instead of being created for, which is a whole other aside. Um, and for a while, it was just like when Archangel Commander popped up, it was just like Michael throwing down the gauntlet. Like, here is something that is for you to do. And then it was like after you do the thing, he teaches you how to use your sword. Now, recently, there's been the energy of like catching the eye of somebody high up on the other side. Right. And I was like, this is random. This is weird. Are people still getting like, are Enochs still being made? Are humans still becoming saints and bodhisattvas and everything else? Which is interesting, I guess. It's interesting that throughout different belief systems that there are people who become more, right? More than just, oh, you go to the afterworld or you reincarnate and you do it all over again. People who, again, like become more, who through their lives, through the way that they live their lives and their dedication during their lives and their character and heart and whatever, they get invited to grow even closer to the divine in some way. Right. And like it felt like weird, out of left field and random. But then I was like, oh, like that's why the Archangel Commander, that's why Archangel Michael was like, here is your sword for you to do that. And then let me show you how to use it. Like, let me show you how to, let me be your sponsor into growing closer to the divine in whatever way. Girl, I don't know. But what kind of really cemented that was that one morning, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 lives ago, when I was using the SKT and the Wish Granted 9 of Cups came out. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to pull 3, 3, 3. And the last card was the Archangel Commander. And it was like this invitation to so much more, or blah, 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 because there was the Archangel Commander saying, job well done. And then it was like, your guardian angel who does your daily report is like, oh, snap. And it's also like, to be fair, ooh. So like, because I was talking to my mom earlier, because we both went to go get our hair done yesterday or whatever. And on the way, I was like, it's not that I have like, not that I struggle to like reach up and out for help when I need it. And it's not that I'm necessarily proud, but I mean, it is kind of sort of rooted in some weird Patrick trauma that, again, is very weird and Patrick. Like, my life, while it may be difficult, like there are so many people that have it worse. And maybe God only has times to answer a certain number of prayers. So like, I'm going to figure myself out myself because someone who needs their prayers answered more are praying. And there are only a certain number of prayers in a day, year, month, lifetime, century that can be answered. Like I said, it's weird. But anyway, it's like it's gone from that to everything, especially within the past 5 years that I've been, like the way that I've been navigating my journey to strengthen and empower me in a way to like feel comfortable standing on my own 2 feet. It's almost like, when you leave the nest, and if you have loving, supportive parents who are still with you, it's like, when you're an adult and you make your own choices and decisions and you're responsible for yourself, but also your parents are there when you need them. So it's like that kind of situation. But I feel like sometimes I'm like, well, like, when do I ask for help? When do I go to my parents and like how? And I was talking to my mom about that, and Anyway, so yeah, it's also part of a conversation I had yesterday. Um, but yeah, so it's like we do the thing. Oh my gosh, hold up. Who is the lion? Oh, okay. Anyway, one second. Gotcha. Okay. Um, so yeah, there was like your guardian angel that makes reports, and then it goes up the chain, and you get a visit from the divine in some way. I was like, to bring this down, it could be like if you're at work or even romantically, I guess. You have been noticed in some way that you're unaware of. And it's almost like because you're unaware that someone is watching you, to that person, it makes your characters seem more genuine and authentic, right? Because it's like if corporate, if the big boss, if the CEO comes in, if someone very, very, very important comes in, it's natural to want to impress them. And so you may do, say, behave in ways like perform your role to a quality that's much higher than you would if they weren't there. And like the purpose of their being there is to observe how things go and operate, right? Like if we aren't showing our like standard daily practice and operations, then it's like it makes the whole trip like redundant. It's like, yeah, okay, like y'all know how to do your job and you know how to do it very well, but is that what you do on the day-to-day basis? Because when I'm not here and someone else is receiving our goods and services, what kind of good, like what's the quality of that they're getting? Anyway, it's like that. It's like when we're not aware that we're being observed, it's genuine, right? It's like the person who gives to someone in need when there aren't cameras or social media or whatever there. You know what I mean? When there's nothing for them to gain from it, it seems more genuine. Like, again, because it could be genuine regardless of whether or not someone is there to witness and observe it. But when we know that someone very important is there, for a lot of people, it's like, oh, well, let's put on our best behavior. And so, again, anyway, we're unaware. It catches someone's attention. Maybe it's like Archangel Michael, like, wow. So they actually did the thing. Maybe Archangel Michael's like, you know how many people I've had this conversation with? And I'm not going to say like people don't get it because maybe they do. Um, but it's like, wow, like you took the direction and you ran with it. You really made this your own. And he's like, thank you, because I got enough people coming knocking at my door. Thank you for not being, one of the and again, one of the lambs in the flock, but that's what the shepherd watches the lambs. It's very almost gray, but in terms of becoming more so, it's like if you were a CEO or a boss and you have two workers, one who like doesn't do anything, when they do something, the quality of the work is very poor, and one who's exemplary and exceptional. And there's a big new thing that you're rolling out and you really want it to be successful. Who are you going to put in charge of that? The person who doesn't do anything, and when they do, it's like all messed up, or the person who's like exceptional and exemplary? When it comes to like becoming more so or growing even closer or being given more, like to those who are greatly responsible, much is given, because they like the divine knows. And then that goes like way back. That was what, like years ago when that message was sort of coming out of like, well, maybe not that long ago, but it feels like it. Of like, there are things that the world is in dire need of, or there are things that the world is wanting and now demanding very like much so. But it's like its amount of like, no tea, no shade, I'm not calling anybody out. But it's like, if again, business is the easiest way to like, it's the easiest metaphor to express it through. Like if there's a new operation that you want to open up, and like you gotta like from breaking ground to like it becoming established, it's gonna take a lot of money. Would you give that money to someone who has like a gambling problem, who, or like a shopping problem? Would you give that money to someone who is like very financially irresponsible, or would you give the money to the person who you know is going to use the money for what it's for? And like, you give them a stipend, you still pay them, they're going to be well off. But for some people, it's almost like enough is never enough. And it's just a question of like, who would you give it to? And that's why, instead of it being like, with great power comes great responsibility, it's like, there's the flip of that. To those who are greatly responsible, much is given, because the higher ups know that they're going to do what they need to, because it affects more than just them, it's the world at large. And then it comes into a question sometimes of like, why we do what we do, right? Or who are we really in service to? And that's enough on that. So then, yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, like it kind of makes sense. And then there was a part of me that was like, because I'm always like, take it as it resonates. When the card comes up, if it resonates, or if you're following the story, either way, like it's gonna make sense. So I don't have to like come on here and be like, this is how I'm seeing the dots connect. Because if they connect for you in that way, you already know. And if they connect for you in a different way, it's probably for them to connect for you in that way, because it may mean something completely different to you than what it means to me. And it may mean something completely different from like what I can interpret this to mean for someone else. You know what I mean? So that was that. The and then I was just watching part of Jimmy, the tarot ship with Jimmy, his December Pisces reading. And he was talking about Mercury. Well, first he said that Mercury is about to enter Capricorn. I was like, Mercury just went into Sagittarius. And then he said that Mercury is about to retrograde from Capricorn back into Sagittarius. And I was just thinking about retrogrades. So this part is like a little more astrological, but also like because of the human condition. Also, I guess kind of sort of going to the nexus of destinies. Um, about how like maybe, and I know people say it, some people say it, about how maybe retrogrades aren't a bad thing. Like Mercury spends sometimes like what, 2 to 3 weeks in a sign before it's already moved on. So if there was something important, and like let's say Mercury in Gemini, but Mercury was only in Gemini for 2 weeks, and like there are other transits, there are things that happen in our lives, and like we were so busy or so caught up in something else, or like working through something else, like our attention was elsewhere, that we missed it. The Mercury retrograde is like another chance for us to see, witness, experience, learn, grow in whatever way Mercury in Gemini had to offer us before it moved over into Cancer, or like before it finishes its retrograde. So like for the quick planets, it's almost like it may be beneficial that we get another opportunity to catch something that we might have missed because Mercury is so fast. And then for the slower planets, it's like that planet is in that sign for 2, 12, 20 years. But once that planet leaves that sign, it's going to be 20, 50, 200 years before that planet is in that sign again. So where we get the benefit of like Mercury being really quick, and if we missed it, we get to go back. a human lifespan ain't necessarily 256 years for Pluto to make it all the way around the wheel again. So it's almost like, again, take advantage of this moment and opportunity to revisit this, and this, because the long cycles are slow, and so they probably happen often within that same sign. But it's like, you're not going to be in this specific sector of this sign, but for a few times within like this period of time, like within a year or like 2 or 3 years, Pluto might be between like 0 and 5 degrees Scorpio. And then after that, it's going to be another 250 years until it comes back. So again, it's like make sure you didn't miss anything. It's like that, like, when you're going out of town and someone's like, did you remember your toothbrush? Do you have all your cords? Do you have this? Do you have that? Because once you leave, once we get on that plane, train, bus, automobile, we can't come back home. And they may not have it where we're going. So you may be without. But I was just like, wow. So anyway, I think I might be looking forward to it because Mercury in Sagittarius was not giving what I thought Mercury in Sagittarius would be giving. So I'm hoping that in its retrograde pass, like, it's like, oh, that's what I was wanting from Mercury in Sagittarius. Okay, thank you. You can go now. I don't know if it's that exactly, but kind of, sort of. You know what I mean? And then another thing that I guess it's come out with the demiurge, but see, that's a whole thing that I've talked about before, and I don't necessarily want to get back into. But again, like I said, like, there's a way that I navigate my life path and journey, and it's not the way that everyone does, or maybe even anyone else does. I don't know. Maybe we're all snowflake unique enough that our operations are different, even if there are many, many, many similarities. You know what I mean? Anyway. But it's like, I guess it's interesting about narratives around control, sovereignty, and autonomy in different lines of like belief. Because to me, sometimes it's very like, if you want to manifest something, don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Pretend like it's not there. Because if you want it, you're not going to get it. If you're chasing it, or if you're in an energy of lack, you're always going to be lacking. You're always going to be chasing, because that's the vibration that you're in. You're not in the vibration of abundance. You're in the vibration of chasing abundance. So you're going to be chasing forever. So like, the best way of practice is like non-attachment. And it's also like, when things go on, it's like, well, ignore it, pretend that it's not happening. It's the matrix trying to distract you. And so like, there's so much detachment, but then like, when it comes to authority, autonomy, sovereignty, it's like to be in control but not involved. And so sometimes I feel like it could be, not always, from my perspective, filtered through the way that I'm walking my path, at least right now. It's very much like, if someone's like, hey, what do you want to eat? And you're like, oh, I'm not really hungry. I don't care. And so they get you tacos, and then you get mad at them because you wanted hamburgers. But if you would have told them that you wanted hamburgers, then they would have been petty and gotten you tacos, even though they know that you wanted hamburgers, because to say that you want hamburgers is to sentence yourself to constantly want a hamburger but never get one. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So pick one. And then it's like, so they get you tacos because you said that you didn't care. And then you get, again, like, you get mad and upset that you got tacos instead of hamburgers. And it's like, well, with your non-attachment, like, yes, true, where energy, like where attention goes, energy flows, but to not be present when a decision is being made is to forfeit your choice, to forfeit your voice, to make your opinion a non-contributing factor when a decision is being made. And so it's almost like, because even in the Bible, like the devil knows the Bible as well as God does when it comes to spiritual law and forces that are greater, both good and bad, light and dark. When you get that high, you have a working knowledge of it, right? Like there are lawyers who help criminals escape punishment, just as there are lawyers who help innocents from being wrongfully convicted. Both of them supposedly have an exceptional knowledge of the law and use that knowledge for completely different ends. And so it's almost like it could be this great infiltration. And again, like this is something that I've said before, but it's like it could be this great infiltration to have, it's almost like to empower and encourage someone to become so spiritually powerful, but then to like incept and interject within that a non-attachment. So yes, you become extremely powerful. You could have cured, solved, whatever, but you were convinced that in your attempt at rectifying it, it would only make the problem worse. And so your best course of action is to not release your cure, or it's to not like invest time, energy, effort, and resources into like absolving and resolving a thing. You know what I mean? And then it goes like, because there have been times where it's like, you see it floating YouTube, like we're having this massive meditation for like peace on earth or whatever. And then it happens, and then there's some like massive atrocity. And then the response to that is it's a distraction, it's a glitch in the matrix, it's not real, blah, 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 whatever. And this is why I was like, what if sometimes we manifest opportunities? We have this, it's like, what if the answer to a worldwide meditation day of peace is for us to see everything that is not that, to give us the opportunity to correct, address, and rectify it? Then the ultimate outcome would be peace, because we have worked to rout out the injustices. And it's almost like it's building and building and building and maybe getting exponentially worse, and the scale is getting higher because we're constantly asking for something and then we're not following up to make it that way. And it's almost like, you know, if you're in the car with someone, or if you're just somewhere with someone and they're like, hey, do you see that thing over there? And you're like, no, where is it? And they're like, over there next to the thing, by the thing. And then you're like, no. And then like the tones get higher. It's like, how do you not see it? It's right there. Oh my gosh. Are you blind? Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, where is it? I don't see it. Oh my gosh. And then everyone's like freaking out and panicking. It's like it ramps up and up. And again, not always the case, but I just saw that in a show I'm watching the other day. It's like maybe sometimes for things that are man-made or for things that are caused by men, they should be solved by men. And men is humankind. It's not males or male-presenting people in like particular, right? Just like how sometimes if there is a disagreement between a parent's children, the parent or a mediator comes in to get the children to work through the problem on their own, because the parent knows that if they enforce a rule or a rule, I guess laws of the house are rules, it doesn't do anything to solve the contention. Like to force a resolution is no resolution. A peace that is forced or enforced is not a peace that's going to be long-standing. So anyway, there was that. And because again, it was like, it happened in 2020. I'm pretty sure at the top of the month, there was like, oh, we're having this like worldwide, like we're having this global meditation for whatever. And then stuff happened in the world and stuff got real ugly. And the response was, it's not real. like go into your bubble, ignore it. And it's like, it's like, I don't know, it's like saying that you're hungry and someone's like, hey, here's some food. And you're like, no, I don't want to eat it. It's like, that is this not the way to which, like, even like outside of that huge scale, like, let's say that you're manifesting a job that is very fulfilling and rewarding, but you don't want to have to apply for anything. You don't want to have to go through the interview process. You don't want to have to challenge yourself to show up in a way that you're not comfortable with. You don't want to have to be put into a position where you have to use your gifts, skills, and abilities. Like, you don't want to be under pressure, but it's like you want the thing, but you don't allow yourself to go through the process to get there. Like, you want $1 million, but you can't stop blowing your money on Monopoly Go or some other app game. Like, you'll never get there with the way that you're operating. Like, this is the road to manifestation. These are the things that you like. This is what you asked for. And again, because at higher and I guess lower levels, there is a exceptional understanding of the rules. And there could be dark forces at play that get you to have your meditation global days for peace. And the divine is like, okay, well, here are all of the things that need to be addressed in order for peace to become a thing. Here are the people who are suffering. And like, the peace that you envision would continue and prolong their suffering because you just pretend like they're not there suffering. Like, ignoring them doesn't, like, it doesn't make their situation any better than it already is. But then on the other side, it's like, since the other side has convinced you, or since the other side knows that once you manifest the peace, you're not going to do anything to actually bring it about, now they get to just run rampant all over the planet. You know, it's like the ugly gets to come out and they know that the saints aren't going to do anything about it. So it becomes literally hell on earth because the people praying for heaven aren't doing anything to make it so. So it's a win for that side, the side that like wants to wreak havoc and be nasty or whatever. And then it's like face palms on the other side because it's like, this is like, you said you want this, like, this is the path, this is the way, this is how you get there. These are the things that within your physical life right now that are very real do not align with the goal, the dream, the thing that you're envisioning. And it's not that they necessarily just mysteriously and miraculously vanish and disappear. It's like, hey, it's like whack-a-mole. Here's a problem, there's a problem, like, handle it, address it. But it's like whack-a-mole where they don't pop back up because you actually resolve it. And again, that very same sentiment goes to shadow work. If a shadow comes up, it's for us to heal and resolve the trauma. If we bypass it, it's going to come back up. Now we're in a cycle. Now we're in a loop. Now we're in this healing is never done. Healing is never over. And it's like, yeah, well, healing would never be done and never over if you're constantly picking a scab, if you keep re-wounding and re-traumatizing yourself, if you refuse to seek medical attention, if you don't do anything to stop and prevent it, it's going to continue to be. And so now it's like, it's these things that become truths for us as whoever, that like, this is just how it is. And it's like, maybe potentially no, but it's become that way because we don't do anything to actually solve, heal, face, and resolve. So then cue the retrogrades. Here's another chance. Here's another opportunity. Hey, here's this. Here's something that you may have missed the first time. Like, if you really want this to be like done or complete or over, like, this is what you got to do. And sometimes it's incredibly hard. Sometimes it's incredibly painful. And sometimes we do ourselves a favor and a service by avoiding. Because like empathic burnout and like beyond just empathic burnout, beyond spiritual burnout of like, you know, just constantly handling and facing and healing and doing this and doing that. It's just like the mountain, it's the level of impact that we have in the first place, right? Like if that was a node, but like a not great node on our path, it takes a lot to go in and untangle something. And sometimes we don't have the capacity to do it. And when that's the case, that's fine. It's more than fine. It's preferable. It's preferable sometimes that if we cannot handle, face, or address something, that you avoid it. Because at least you'll be here another day to maybe do it another day when you have more time, when you've grown a little bit, when you've experienced more of life. And so contextually, like there are things outside of what I have experienced, and then it makes it easier. Maybe it's like you chip away at it over time to the point where one day it's like gone. Maybe miraculously it does disappear. It's like it's going to be resolved in 2 weeks. So you don't have to bang your head against the wall right now. Just do this, do that, go do something else. It'll be taken care of, and then you can continue. Like there are many different reasons and facets, factors, and ways in which things come to resolution. So again, take it as it resonates. When it resonates in that situation, hopefully like we have the discernment to know like this is something that will continue to be a problem for me until I address it. And like this is something that's not mine to handle and address. So I'm not gonna like that's for somebody else. And like this is something that's gonna work itself out throughout this process. So I don't have to like divert. Yeah. I don't have to divert from something else and devote too much to something that is basically time locked anyway. So anyway, but I'm just like, okay, I got my own stuff to, worry about. And beyond that, it's just like the way that I see things outside of me. Again, like even for myself, I try to have that discernment of like when what is necessary. And again, it's like with the sun, living is hard enough as is. So just do your best every day and you'll get there. As long as you're doing your best, you will naturally do better and better and better. Because as we grow, age, mature, evolve, wax, and wisdom, our best gets better. And so it's like, again, as long as we're showing up, we just naturally rise to the top. Even if the progression isn't always linear. So anyway, there are cards on the table. They came out at some point. I don't even remember now. First, it was the Empress and the Stronghold of the Grail, which is the Page of Cups. You see the lobster? Girl. The bottom of the deck was the Initiate. And then I was like, well, what's the message of this Stronghold of the Grail? So I like cut the deck and the High Priestess came out. So now I'm like, there's an invitation to join the High Priestess on the other side of the veil or whatever. And now at the bottom of the deck is the Champion. And also now I need to go to the restroom because the seal was broken. And I'm going to grab another drink for Eve. I'm back. I've also, as an aside, I've decided that tomorrow is New Year's. I'm getting a month head start on my New Year's resolution because I need it. This live is about anything and everything. Nothing. Nothing at all. I don't know. This live is just a dump of Patrick's opinion, viewpoint, and perspective. Hey, Banana Milk. How you doing? Ooh, what's that? Is that food? Oh, that's the cheers emoji. I was like, that almost looks like a stack of pancakes with butter on top. But I might just be hungry. And again, maybe it's all interconnected. Maybe that's what Archangel Michael with the Archangel Commander is trying to get us to like see in some ways. That the problems that are caused by man must be resolved by man, because that's the only way that children learn and grow. And it's like, if you get yourself into trouble and constantly expect your parents to bail you out, I feel like when it happens to other people, it's easier for us to go like, oh, they're so spoiled. And like, that's the reason why they never think that they're wrong, or they think this or they think that, because none of the people who are close to them tell them, right? It's like, well, if I was really like that, then my friends would say something. Like my parents would have told me. Someone who loves me would have told me, you're just being ridiculous. And it's like, well, love is blind. Also, okay, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Maybe I think that's just like a Patrick thing. Oh, look, there it is. There's the Nine of Cups. And it was this one. The North Node was where the Archangel Commander came out. Because I remember the Archangel Commander was the last card. And like, that is our death. That's the collective destiny that we're heading towards. Especially with the North Node being in like, maybe North Node, Aries, South Node, Libra is like, the norm is not, like when justice is not justice. And so a new precedent has to be set, or something has to be overtaken, because it's like, that's not justice. That's not fair. That's not equitable. That's not whatever. That's not equality. It's the norm. And it's what we've been conditioned to accept. And so Aries has to come in and like show you how to get stuff done, because it's not necessarily the job of Libra to like correct. It's almost like Libra is just equilibrium. Libra is about balancing the scales. But like humanity, Libra is like social norms and expectations. It's not necessarily true justice. Divine Libra, yeah. Human Libra, no. Human Libra is like, this is what I want. This is what I expect. How are we going to make it so? You know what I mean? Human Libra is, this is what I've become accustomed to. Anyway, what made you miss Rob? Oh, the patty cakes? Yeah. I feel like it's been a minute. Every now and then I feel like I still need to make it to Wisconsin. I was also like in Wisconsin. I was like, what? I was like, I didn't even think about it. Well, I was only in Wisconsin for a night and it was miserable. Like, we were in Michigan and it was gorgeous. And then the end of the trip was Wisconsin. We were all exhausted. The air in the car went out. So it's like as soon as we crossed the state line into Wisconsin, the air in the car went out. Our Airbnb that night didn't have any air. It was like the weather was so good, but that day it was so hot. Wisconsin was not kind. Was not kind to me or us. Michigan was gorgeous though. Loved it. But then when I came back, I was like, oh my gosh, Robson, Wisconsin. And then my friend from campus, who I hadn't seen in years, was literally in Milwaukee. Because I was like, we went to the Harley Davidson Museum. And she was like, oh my gosh, I like a block away from there. And I'm like, what? She's a Pisces sun and moon. And I'm like, oh my gosh. She may be the first Pisces sun and moon that I'm at. And it made me grateful that my moon is in Taurus. I could not be a Pisces and have a water moon. I couldn't. I feel like I'd just be overwhelmed all the time. And being a Pisces sun is enough for me. It's enough for me. I don't need that. Ooh, look, the Six of Swords. And look what it's heading towards. Where's Mercury? Excuse me. I don't remember what card was. I feel like it was like the Five of Pentacles or something. That was before the Archangel Commander. Anyway, you know, it's like you claim to be autonomous and sovereign, prove it. Be it. Instead of just like, it's also like when I was in the bathroom, I thought of that metaphor. It's like if there's like a cookie or like a promotion or whatever that you want at work, and you're like, you're just expecting it. They're like, oh yeah, they're going to promote me because I'm awesome. And then somebody else gets the promotion and you go to your boss and you're like, WTF, like, why did they get the promotion? And the boss is like, because they applied for it, because they inquired about it, because they asked. They let it be known to us, number one, that they wanted the promotion. And then number two, they followed the necessary steps, like submitting their application for that position. And you never said that you wanted it. You acted, in fact, you acted disinterested in the position. And then like, you never applied for it. Like you didn't even submit an application for us to formally go through the process. So we didn't think you wanted it. And here in your mind, like you're so deserving and you're so exemplary and it's basically yours. And the betrayal, whew. And the boss is like, well, like you literally didn't even apply. You betrayed yourself. But as humans, we don't like to hear that, you know. As sovereign, autonomous individuals, we don't like to acknowledge the fact when we're responsible. It's always someone else's problem. That's kind of like interesting to me, how we are all one and we are all reflections of one another. And so if I am going through something, then you are also going through something because that's what oneness means. But at the exact same time, here's this person in my life who is not behaving in a way that I like, and that's them. That's not me, but it's like, girl, well, literally 2 seconds ago, we were all the same. So, but now all of a sudden when it's convenient, it's not you, it's them and solely them, and they're not a reflection of you. When like, I don't know. But I'm also the person that says, embrace paradox. So, I don't know. It's like spiritual mental gymnastics is convenient, but seems exhausting. Which is why I'm like, you know what? There's too much that I want in life right now. Let's get to the point. Tell me what I got to do, and I'm going to do it because I want to get where I'm going, because I don't want to be where I was anymore. And where I was sucky enough that pretty much anything I got to do to get where I want to go, I'm going to do it. Doesn't matter how big, bad, tough, hard, or scary. Doesn't matter how much I cry or how dark the night is. I refuse to make my home in the abyss. And I know that chasing the light means that we're going to have to go through some darkness, because there's light in that darkness. Light that the higher potential, the me that I'm becoming needs. Like I need the light that is in that darkness in order to be who I like want to be, but who I ultimately am. And like I'm lazy enough. If I don't have to do something, sometimes I'm not gonna do it. You know, it's like it's just, and I know that. So do I roll my eyes sometimes and it's like, well, why did it have to be like this? Yeah, But then the immediate rebuttal is like, well, you are who you are. And you wouldn't have done this if you didn't have to. And sometimes it's like things that I would have actively avoided. Sometimes it's just things that I literally did not know. And it took a situation to make me aware. Like, oh, excuse me, I didn't know that I love. Honestly, I didn't know that I loved Mike's. This is not sponsored. I didn't know that I loved this non-sponsored beverage until I went to my friend's wedding and they had them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm obsessed. Obsessed is a strong word, but I love them. And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have my alcohol journey. My alcohol journey was like, I'm not really a drinker, but if I'm in a social situation where drinking is softly expected, more to beer, because it's like I want to know the beers that I like, so I can like drink a beer or get a beer if I have to, but also enjoy it and not be like the whole time I'm drinking it. You know what I mean? So then I found Line and Kugel Summer Shandy. I found 312. I found Guinness. Guinness is amazing. I found like a lot of lagers and ales. Stella Artois, no, it's too light. I don't like light hoppy. It's like Blue Moons. Ugh, it's too like crisp or something. I don't know. Not for me. So we have the Hollow Void Strength with the Angel at the bottom of the deck. The deck was in reverse, so this came out in reverse. I noticed that it was in reverse when I saw the Angel in reverse, so I turned it up right, and then Strength was upright when I pulled it. Also, that's what we're focusing on. So the Scorpion is not the Lobster, but they're both symbols associated with Scorpio. So here was Scorpio that we were gifted. Scorpio occult knowledge, just sitting behind the scenes. That was the emissary of the High Priestess, which is like the moon and therefore Cancer, but and also very like occult. Now I get it. Because people will be like, the High Priestess is also Scorpio for me. And I'm like, I can see Pisces because Pisces is like the intuitive, whatever. I can see Cancer because it's the moon and the moon rules Cancer. But Scorpio? And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Because of the depths of Scorpio. And the High Priest is like, yeah, duh. Anyway. With this moon in Cancer, oh, no, that is not Cancer. I feel like this is a little bit about having the courage to face the things that we don't want to face. Because the Hollow Void with the symbol of Scorpio came out in reverse. Right? This is, and that's something that's been coming out. I mean, it makes sense because of the like, you are being approached by the divine. Are people still becoming angels and gods and saints? And the person who was like meditating in the forest for Buddha, and then Buddha showed up, and that person was like, oh my gosh, you're so annoying. Like, can you leave me alone? And Buddha was like, okay. Like, you wanted me to show up, and now that I'm here, you don't even want me here. When you like manifest the healing, and then the shadow comes up, and it's like, you wanted me to show up, you wanted me here, and now you're going to ignore me and pretend like I don't exist. Well, I guess I'll see you in 2 weeks when you have another dark night of the soul. But don't blame me. I'm kidding. Anyway. You like a blue moon? Is what? Hold up. Wait, I got to try that. Because wheat beer, I might be able to get down with. Maybe. Or maybe not. I don't know. But I'll try it. Is it light? Does it taste light and crisp? I don't like crisp. And maybe that's like a blue moon Maybe it's because to me, it's like it's so crisp and it has citrusy like flavors and a little bit of a citrusy aroma, but it's not orange juice. And I'm like, with all of this crisp citrus, I'd rather just have like apple juice for the crispness or orange juice for the orange. But Blue Moon for me, it ain't it. But anyway, we're gonna. Yeah, I had a whole little. Excuse me. I even got on. What was the app? Untapped. I got on the Untapped app, which is like the social media of beer, where you can like rate drinks that you get and you can take pictures of them and you can follow your friends. Because I was like, I need to know what I like. So anyway, I got on Untapped. It was a whole thing, and now I know what drinks I like. And now I know that I like to drink. I like to drink though because I like drinking. I don't drink to get drunk. Blue Moon is a Belgian white. What about Hefeweizen? Is that German? Also, IPAs. It's fine. It's like I need to know, since this is low key or on the side, Oracle Juice Intuitive. Like, I need to know what spirits are compatible with my energy as I'm pulling the cards. You know what I mean? And some spirits just aren't compatible. And to those spirits, we say, you find yours. I'll stick with mine. Thank you. You can't do IPA? Okay, yeah. I'm like, I had a Sun King. There's like, I can't remember if Sun King is I think Sun King is like the brand. But there was like a gumball head, maybe. There was one that was like kind of decent. But maybe it was just like too many flavors. It was a medley. It was a symphony. And I was like, "Ooh." Just like, let's stick to the strings because the way that is, it's sounds like noise to me. But they don't make IPAs for Patrick. So that's perfectly fine. I go to the drinks that I like. Anyway. So the reason why I say this feels like seeing something that we don't necessarily want to see is because of this. Because this is Moon in Cancer, and I thought it was Leo in Cancer, but Leo in Cancer doesn't make sense. But between these two glyphs, if it'll focus, there we go. Yeah, between those two glyphs, it's like this one has closed. This is the circle complete. It's almost like it's trying to reach completion, but there's something that keeps the ends from connecting. And again, with this card coming on reverse, it's the things that we don't want to see. Now, originally the angel was in reverse, which is like healing. The angel is the angel, right? Temperance. The angel is temperance. And it's like it's healing that couldn't happen, but it's because temperance was in the reverse when this came out in reverse that I knew the whole deck was in reverse. It's almost like it's because something doesn't, and it makes me think of somebody that I used to watch. He pulled a card that said, it was basically like, if all of your knowing doesn't get you to a certain point, then abandon your knowing. And for the context of that video, he was like, I'm not reading it that way. But for me, as someone who was taking it as it resonates for me, I was like, oh, that makes sense to me. Because if you think that 2 + 2 = 17, and you're doing your math and it's not adding up, it's because 2 + 2 is 4. There is something fundamental that is maybe even slightly off. It's the 88%, and how it's a B+, almost an A-. But depending on that 12%, depending on that 2%, like the 2% between the B+ and the A-, from the B realm to the A realm, may be drastic enough that it's like it significantly affects the end result. And when it comes to things that small, it's only really significant if we're doing addition. No, it's only significant if we're doing multiplication or division. Like to multiply by something by 2 or to divide something by 2, depending on how big the number is like a lot more significant than like adding or subtracting 2, right? So if we're talking about 88, nope, let's make it 90. Let's make it easy. So at 90, like if we're adding or subtracting 2, that's what, 88 to 92. If we're multiplying or dividing, that's 180 and 45. The operation also matters. But anyway, it's because the healing wasn't healing that I was able to recognize like the whole deck is in reverse. There's a complete perspective shift that's needed here. And then I went to look at the other card because there were 2 cards that flipped over in the deck. This was the second card, but it was the closest to the bottom when I went looking to see, or the closest to the top, whatever. It was the closest in the direction I was going. Then I looked at the bottom of the deck because I was like, why is this in reverse? Healing was in reverse. I was like, oh, the whole thing is in reverse. Perspective shift is needed. And then strength came out. And it may be instead of like strength forcing the mouth open, it's forcing the mouth shut. Because again, if we're looking at the glyphs of Cancer and the sun or the solar cross or whatever this is, I don't know. Cancer has that gap and the solar cross is closed. Now the angel has the strength to end the cycle. Now the healing can do the healing that is needed. Now temperance can balance out and temper. And again, like with the scorpion and the lobster, this is also like 2 minor arcana cards that came out beside major arcanas. The scorpion came out with the Empress. No, the lobster, sorry. The lobster came out with the Empress. The scorpion came out with strength. The message of the lobster was the high priestess. And at the bottom of the deck, when the scorpion came out, we have temperance, the angel. Also, the only other card on the table is the initiate, which is the fool. Like this is our initiation into major arcana energy. It's like if you want peace on earth, if you really want what you want, this is the way to go about getting it. But it's partly like if you want what you want, this is the way about getting it. And it's also very much so, at least from my vantage point, feeling like it's basically we're being taught how to fish. So let's say that there is a community that is a village. No, it doesn't have to size it. There's a community that is located near the banks of water. And they harvest, grow, cultivate, farm. They farm. And something happens and it devastates the crops. And they are in danger of starving to death. And there is a stranger, a wandering stranger that comes by on their trip and journey. And they see the state of the village. And they're like, the people are like starved. And the person goes to the chief villager, the chief, and they're like, what's going on? Or maybe they're just going through the village and they're like, hey, like, I'm stocking up on supplies or I need a place to rest for tonight. Do you have food and shelter? And the villagers are like, we would love to, but we're starving. And this person looks at the body of water that they're next to, and the fish are literally flopping from the ocean into the skillet. But anyway, not that extreme. They see this body of water and they're like, what do you mean? Like, there's fish. You can fish. And they're like, fish? What are you talking about? Like, fish. And so instead of teaching a person how to fish, it's like, so this stranger gathers able bodied people because, maybe fishing requires some strength. You can't pull a reel if you're too hungry to even lift your hands. Um, the person gathers able bodied people and is like, I'm going to teach you how to fish so that you can provide for your village in times where the crops are not cropping for whatever reason. Then, as a backup, or for those who prefer, you can fish. And so, like, that's sort of the Archangel Michael teaching the people how to fish. And then those people, after the villager or after the pilgrim, the journeyer goes on, they will fish for their village, and then they will train future generations. They will train others how to fish. Maybe there are some who, again, were too hungry to fish, but after a few days, they're right as rain, and maybe they become master fishermen, right? Maybe the people who were available to fish were just the best at the time, but they don't want to fish. They were farmers. They loved farming, and they became fishermen to feed because that's what a farmer does, but they want to feed people in a different way. But there are other people who love to fish. So they impart the wisdom that the traveler had imparted to them to the fishermen. They go back to farming, and now, boom, you can have fish and the fields. It's all about expansion. But anyway, it's like kind of like that. Potentially. Take it as it resonates. I'm going to give this one more shuffle. I'm trying to find the Archangel Commander, which is the reason why I pulled out this deck in the first place. But cards came out and flipped over, so. All right, one more. Darn it. No, it's Isis. Why are you here? That one card. Oh, I didn't put reversals in here. Okay. It's fine. Saturn and Libra flipped over, which is the Three of Swords. Isis has been coming out since Libra season. But before that, before Isis came out, it was Phaeton and Eridanus. I think I put Eridanus in that. And Eridanus, was that Akamar Akranar? Yeah, because Akamar and Akranar are stars in the constellation of Eridanus. Eridanus is the river that Phaeton fell into after he was slain by Jupiter for torching the earth. But there was that, like, Phaeton, through circumstances of his birth, thought him more capable than he was, thought himself more capable than he was. He was like, I am the child of Apollo. You know what that means? That means I can pull Apollo's chariot with no training, never held a rein a day in my life, but as the son of Apollo, this is my divine birthright. Let me pull that chariot. And Apollo was like, no. Apollo was like, no. There are gods, okay? Full on, older than me, more powerful in some ways than me, gods that can't pull this chariot. It doesn't matter who you are. My brothers, you're my son? Okay, my brothers, my father couldn't pull this chariot. And you think you're just going to show up. But, his wife and his daughters convinced him, oh, let Phaeton pull the chariot. Just let him do it for a little bit. Phaeton couldn't handle it. Flew too far. The earth nearly froze. Got way too close. It nearly roasted. Zeus was like, okay, I got to step in and take care of this. Hurled a thunderbolt at Phaeton, dead, fell into the water, Eridanus, goes into the underworld. In the underworld, Phaeton gains the strength to pull the chariot. So when Phaeton comes back, it's the Inanna that becomes the Ishtar. It's the Venus that comes out of the underworld, like emerges from the underworld, better, stronger, faster, harder than before, now able to pull the chariot. Anyway, Isis is here in this Three of Swords. And it was the pain of Isis. I don't know if she knew she could resurrect people until she had to. It was her grief that caused her to resurrect her husband, Osiris. It could have been her grief or her pain that revealed a capability within her that was there the whole time, but that she never had reason to tap into or utilize. And so because she never had reason, maybe she wasn't fully aware. Or maybe she knew she could, but like because she didn't have to, she didn't like get into the nitty-gritty of it anyway. What came out with it though is the ebony shield in reverse. The ebony shield is interesting. The ebony shield, I don't know why, but the ebony shield in this deck, okay, that's the reason why. The ebony shield in this deck, for me, is a card of temptation. It's a card of like, oh, I see that you're working really, really hard to accomplish that. Well, I can give you this. Do you want it? She offers the apple. She's the Queen of Pentacles, by the way, the space of the Queen of Pentacles. But she's like, oh, if all you want is money, I can give you money. You don't have to work hard. And one of the reasons why could be it's almost the test of our conviction, right? It's like if there's a very important role, then this temptation, the test of conviction, would test the reason why we do what we do. Like if you get into nonprofits, like in general, especially in the US, from my limited knowledge, if you get into a nonprofit for money, it's like the people who have positions of like a caregiver, nurses, doctors, nursing home workers, teachers, like people in positions of service where that service is very important. It's like a teacher who doesn't like kids, or a doctor who like only cares about money, doesn't care about the well-being of the patient, or like nurses who don't really care about people but who do it for the money. And it's like if you don't care about people, this probably isn't the profession for you. Is there some money in it? Maybe, yeah, sure. But it's like you're dealing with lives. And if money is your greatest reason, maybe you should do something else. Because it's almost like maybe there's a time when the best financial decision isn't it's like where the head and the heart are instead of where they conflict instead of align. Right? Like sometimes like this is a good business decision that also makes positive impact. Like I care about the money, but like, we're bringing awareness to this cause and it's going to rake us in a lot of dough. I don't care about the people that we benefit. I care about the money, but it lines up. So it doesn't matter. Well, it matters when the money is against the people. But anyway, you get the metaphor. She's the one that tempts. Like, is it really about the money or is it about helping people? Because although this position is very lucrative, what's most important in this position is being people-centric. If you want to be about money, go for the CFO. Go for payroll. Go for supply chain. If you care about money, go in the direction where business is needed. But this position, this department is focused on the customers, on the clients, on the people that we give care to. Our job is to make their experience the best it can be. And it's the other people's job to keep us financially competitive, or not even competitive, but just like to keep us above board. It's their job to make sure that we don't go bankrupt. and our generosity, because if we don't have the money to maintain our facilities, then we're not going to be able to help anybody. And we know that that's a necessary evil in the world, which is why they do it. And it's not because they're evil. It's because that's for them. That's their tea. That's their gig. That's their, that's what they get into. So like, you want to go over there. It's different over here. Because you come over here where we care about people and you're talking money, you're going to find that you don't fit in real quick. It's like, oh yeah, you need to be over there with those money people. You know what I mean? And again, it's just about like the fishermen, right? They're the farmers who became fishermen because they were the most capable at that time. That was the tier in the Knight of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles. There was the farmer, Cicero, who became the warrior because he was courageous and valiant of heart, brawny in body, robust in brain, and all around amazing. But he didn't want that for himself. He wanted it to protect his land and his family and those that he cares about, but he's more interested in cultivating lives than taking them. The farmers fish until the fishermen are well enough to go and fish, and then they get back to farming, right? There's a role and a position for everybody, just like there are many, many, many different organs in the body, and those different organs are composed of different types of cells. At their core, do they all have the same DNA in their nuclei? Sure, but they express it in different ways, and they, promote some things more than others. It's not a bad thing to specialize. But yeah, she's a temptress, but not a Jolene Jezebel temptress. She's a temptress for good, right? Because, you tell the Ebony Shield, I'm not interested in your apple. I'm doing it for the bananas. And she's like, okay, well, welcome to Eden, where there's apples, bananas, oranges, mangoes, pineapples, pelicans, princes, poppers, puppies, P words, pencils, pens. And maybe that partnered with Isis is like, for what and for why do we seek power? It's like, again, going back to autonomy, sovereignty, and all that other stuff. Why do we seek it? Eva, stop. You can keep your peaches and plums and pears. Okay, I'm here for the bananas, for the eggplants, for the cucumbers. Kidding, JK. Take it as it resonates. I mean, if it resonates, take it. Shoot. But if it doesn't, I'm just kidding. Get your mind out of the gutter. We're talking about food. Okay. Whew, I thought that card was going to flip over. I got so scared. Oh my gosh, we're not done yet? Bottom of the deck is the Ten of Swords, the Destroyer, in reverse. 2 cards fell out face down. They are the Haunt, Gemini, Mars in Gemini, and the Contender, Saturn in Leo. Oh, gotcha. This is almost it's almost like there are 2 wolves inside of us. The wolf that wins is the wolf that we feed. But it's almost more so about, it's like trauma responses, because the Ten of Swords is in reverse. And then behind the Ten of Swords is the title card. This is like when our trauma, this is like a shadowy Queen of Swords in reverse type energy, or how I read Queen of Swords. and reverse type energy, where it's like we use our hurt and our pain and our trauma as a source of power. And so because we use it as a source of power, we can't afford for it to be resolved. Right? So this is the artist that can't afford being super stereotypical or whatever, like playing into the trope. This is the artist that can't afford to be in a loving, healthy, happy, romantic connection because they make bank selling heartbreak and pain and misery. It's the one that suffers for their art. It's the business person that can't afford to get attached to it's the boss or the CEO or the whoever that can't afford to get attached to their subordinates or their employees, because when like it's their job to do the firing, and if they get attached, then they won't be able to do it as like cleanly as they do at that point. It's the healthcare worker that's like, or the veterinarian that's like, don't get attached to the people, don't get attached to the pets, because we work so close to the brink. Like, yes, you get to celebrate the babies and the triumphs and the lives being made better by surgeries, but we're also here when it's time to go. And the pain of loss, it far outweighs any joy that the happiness or the success brings. And so it's better to just not get attached at all, because we're the ones that have to be here at the end, regardless of if they have family in the room or not. We're here. And it hurts too much if you get attached. Or again, like, so it's either it's more like anti-tragic hero, like in order to not feel the pain of loss, limit the investment. And it's the more like productive, provocative, not provocative, but more, I guess maybe it's like the intentional, like in order to make money, to advance my goals, it's better to be miserable so I have material to write or blog or read about, write, blog, paint, whatever, create about, or so that, when it comes time to downsize because we're doing whatever, we can do the layoffs guilt free. Anywhere in that spectrum, it's when we hold on to something in order to prevent an ending. Or it's like, I'm never going to get close to anybody ever again because I got close to somebody one time and they betrayed me, and it's a pain that I never want to feel again. So it keeps us stuck. And sometimes, we think that we are over our pasts by avoiding them, but the past continues to make decisions for us in the present, moving forward into the future. It's because of a past situation. It's because of a past pain that I'm not going to allow myself any kind of resolution in this, because if I do, I might get weak. I might get complacent, and someone's going to come in and take advantage of me. And it's like, maybe there's some truth to that, sure, but that's no way to live one's life. If I can make it 3 shuffles without a card flipping out or coming out, I'm going to go looking for the Archangel Commander. Oh, we just did it. I'm going to pull from the top of the deck. Oh, Queen of Swords in reverse. There she is. The shadowy side of the Queen of Swords. The one whose hurt, pain, past prevents them from softening in the future or in the present, because of all of the other things that it may bring or mean. Oh, I love this. I actually saw this card in reverse under the title card, I'm pretty sure. But now it's like this concluded this stronghold of the flame came out, and we are on to something new. Now we are officially looking for the Archangel Commander. Maybe these are like 3 different things or 3 different ways in which the Archangel Commander empowers us. The Archangel Commander empowers us for our futures to be brighter than our pasts, and so we can let go of the hurt and the pain. It also aligns our motivations with the direction that we're heading in. So if we are going into roles of service, it makes us of service, or it provides us opportunity to go into roles of money and wealth if we actually desire money and wealth. And then this was in reverse. Let me keep these in the state that they were in. It also helps us to close the gap on things that we've struggled with for a long time. It helps us change our minds and gives us the courage and the strength. These are actually like pretty solidly related. This one, the first one that came out, like with the things that we could not heal, and the last one that came out. But it's different because these are things that we don't want to heal, and we don't want to heal them. We don't want to experience anything else because of how it impacts our ability to show up in whatever way we're showing up. That's why, again, it's like Queen of Swords in reverse. And this is like the things that we can't heal because maybe they're too painful or because maybe we just don't see them. And then here's resurrection in between all of this. So anyway, because the stronghold of the flame came out, I'm going to mix it up. Her message is the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. The 3 of Pentacles in reverse, this is giving me like you have everything that you need in order to do something yourself. The 3 of Pentacles is a card of collaboration, but it's not Mars. Who are you? It is Mars. Mars in Capricorn. Mars is Aries. Aries is a goat. Capricorn is the sea goat. Aries can make it up the mountain on its own. Just like Capricorn, just like the goat. It can scale sheer cliff faces. It doesn't need to do the whole, what's the rope tethery thingy that, right? It doesn't require collaboration for the Capricorn. Capricorn is encouraged to collaborate because it establishes and builds like networks, and networking is an important part of Capricorn. But Capricorn can do it by itself. It isn't necessarily the stereotypically Piscean, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Like, can you do it for me? I'm helpless. It's more like, I don't really need you to do this for me, but I don't want to have to do everything by myself because this is a lot. And there are only a certain number of hours in the day, and I still got personal time. Work-life balance is important to me. So I'm hiring you to do this work that I could do, but I don't want to do because I'd rather spend time with my family. Do you want to get paid? And like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool, good, cool, Gruel. Gruel. Was it Gruel? What was Mean Girls? I don't remember. Anyway. Yeah, the Page of Wands, the message of the Page of Wands is like, you can do it yourself. And with it being the Knight of Swords, here's Mercury. Universal Mercury, or just Mercury. With it being the Knight of Swords, it's like you have the know-how. Anything that you don't know, you'll find out in the process. So maybe, again, because the Knight of Swords is there, it's like, utilize your resources. Don't be afraid to utilize your resources, but know that you don't have to be so dependent on someone else. I guess 3 of Pentacles in reverse could be like codependency rather than like cooperation. But Mercury came out at some point because I was looking at the 9 of Cups and I was like, what came out for Mercury? And I think it was the 5 of Pentacles. The 5 of Pentacles being the space of like the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. It's like no one's helping you because you don't need it. Anyway. Oh my gosh, I'm going looking for Archangel Commander, Archangel Michael. And the message is do it yourself. And that was literally his thing. Anyway, Starborn Berg, SBV, it's been a minute. How are you? Yeah, I'm not fixing it. Sorry. I guess I could have said that. I noticed that it was blurry. I was like, it'll focus when it focuses, or it won't. We're in the zone. AutoZone. This video is not sponsored by AutoZone, by the way. This channel isn't sponsored by AutoZone. The Archangel of Glory. So not the Archangel Commander. The Archangel of Glory and the Golden Shield. King and Queen of Wands energy. The Archangel of Glory and his shield. Back to back. What? And then the Blind Seer in reverse. I feel like these are going to be important. The Two of Swords is my minor High Priestess card. But the Two of Swords, it's like a surrendering to the divine, basically. Where we know that, yeah, there it is, gruel. I meant to say cool, and then I started to say great. She started to say great. I was going to say good, so Katie did it best. But it's like, this is when we know that it's like one of those give it to God, leave it up to the divine. There are things in the situation that I'm not aware of, and I don't do myself any favors by overthinking it and overacting and overdoing. So I'm going to sit, I'm going to be patient, and I'm going to wait. The divine will reveal in time what is to be revealed. It's like a trust and faith card for me personally. Sometimes, I guess it depends. But it's because of that she is my minor High Priestess. I'm looking for the Archangel Commander. Hold up. We just got another stronghold. Another page. Eight of Wands in reverse. Page of Pentacles in reverse. Six of Swords upright. I was looking for Mercury. Where is Mercury? There's Universal Mercury. So yeah, these three, I'm also taking these. Because every time a page comes out, I shuffle the deck to see what their message is. We only have one more in the deck until we get to the Archangel Commander. So, like how I was literally just saying, this is my trust and belief and wait card. But it's like it's a waiting that's motivated by belief and by faith. Faith, I guess. Maybe with it being in reverse, it's involuntary. With it being upright, it's like, I know that it's going to make sense in the grand scheme of things. For now, I'm going to suspend disbelief. I'm going to suspend judgment, and I'm just going to let things fall where they may, because I know it'll make sense in the end. She's kind of the not antithesis. She's very aligned to the title card for me, the Live Life and Find Out. But because as I'm pulling the cards, like I said, these two came out together in reverse. And then this came out in reverse. So it feels like the Archangel of Glory and the Golden Shield are involved in some way or hold some kind of presence, but it's not yet known. And I think this would be like Archangel Gabriel because of the horn, which in a Ragnarok way makes sense. Like if Archangel Michael is the warrior, and if Archangel Gabriel were Heimdall that blows the Galler horn at the start of Ragnarok, and Archangel Michael is like Thor. It's like one signals the other, but it's in a way that I'm not seeing. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to take these three. But now, because of the universal Mercury of this, Knight of Swords. This is the ferryman that holds universal Mercury. So it's almost like, and because of the fire here, the Eight of Wands in reverse, it's almost like validating, re-clarifying that, like, almost good things come to those who wait, but it's more so something that's unexpected. It's like all of a sudden, out of the blue, in a direction that we don't expect at all, a way is opened up, and we, through the course of events, are seamlessly guided towards whatever it is that we were potentially seeking. So it's almost like the finish line isn't where you think it is. So it's like, keep pushing, keep fighting, don't give up just yet, because dawn is about to break, the sun is about to come out. But it's not anymore. So keep moving type of energy. So now we give this a shuffle and we continue. All right. Still looking for the Archangel Commander. Oh my gosh, look. And then as soon as it comes out, the stronghold of the Grail is at, the stronghold of the Zephyr, Page of Swords, is at the top of the deck. So we literally do it all over again. Shuffle. And then keep going. This is so, I would say there's something, some kind of revelation that happens because of this. Because again, the knowing of the Knight of Swords is not complete. But just because the Knight of Swords doesn't know everything doesn't mean that it's for the Knight of Swords to not do anything. The Knight of Swords needs to act, but the Knight of Swords also needs to be aware of the fact that, again, it doesn't know everything. It needs to be decisive, yet flexible. And there's something about the universal Mercury is that high priestess vision. It's seeing the parade from a bird's eye view. And that's why the ferryman is holding it. The ferryman knows all the twists and turns of the river that you're on. Maybe it's Eridanus. You know, we were just talking about Eridanus. It isn't, but maybe it is. I guess it could be. But that would be more of the Ankh and less of, it's not even on here. It's on the Empress. In a way, not really, but like there's the Ankh in the Empress. It's like on her thing. So it's kind of like Mercury. Sort of, but not really. Because here's Isis. Isis doing her resurrection, and I talked about Phaeton. Phaeton that was so proud because of his lineage that he thought himself, through sheer right of birth, capable of doing the divine, doing the task of the divine, and he was not. He was sent to the underworld, and now it's almost like now that's where it's like it's time for Phaeton to be revived. And because the ferryman has such keen awareness of everything on that river, he's going to go get the body, or he's going to take Isis to where the body is so that that resurrection can be performed. I saw the Five of Cups, Five of Horns in the Runic Tarot yesterday. And there were the bodies in the cups. And it was given like one of the rivers of the underworld, Styx, Phlegethon, the other three. Lathe, Styx, Phlegethon, Acheron, and the other one. I don't remember. All right, no problem, Eve. I was just wondering, like, I was like, it's been a while. I'm sure you got to get to work. 2 hours. Oh my gosh. Thank you for spending time with me. Enjoy your day. I hope it's chill. So, because of this Page of Swords in reverse, it's almost like this is a piece of missing information that the Shining Winds didn't know. The reason why we're in a more involuntary waiting period, or the reason why we're waiting and we don't know why, is like it's gonna be delivered. But because it's coming with the owl, it feels like almost more like shared wisdom. And shared wisdom is tricky because a lot of wisdoms are gained through experiences. And how do we, in effect, it's like, how do we appreciate the depth and richness of wisdom without having gone through those experiences ourselves? It's like every time my mom used to tell me, I really hope you don't have to experience this difficulty and hardship to listen to me. It's like, I really hope that you don't have to find out the hard way when I'm trying to tell you that this is not what you want. And I was like, I'm young. Let me make mistakes before I'm an adult. Like, let me make mistakes while I can regret them and not have them potentially completely alter the course of my life. And she's like, no, why would I let you do that? I was like, I know that you know it's a bad idea, and I know that I know it's a bad idea. And so I know that we both collectively know that this is dumb. But maybe I want to be young and stupid. You know what I mean? Anyway. Because the owl delivers this, it's wisdom. Also, the air becomes earth and the earth becomes air because their letters are in reverse. Like, these are the glyphs upright. The one with the pentacle has the glyph for earth. The one with the sword has the glyph for air. But because they're both in reverse, earth is coming out as airy and air is coming out as earth. So maybe it is an almost as above, so below new take or a revelation on some kind of cosmic or divine law, like the law of manifestation or whatever. Like, there's something around a situation that's not purely logical, and it also isn't purely like practical. Some things that are logical are also practical, but some things are like counterintuitive. So it's very like, it's a counterintuitive energy. So maybe like that's important. Maybe that's the reason why it is important for us to do something ourselves with this Three of Pentacles in reverse. It's like, don't wait for someone else. Don't rely on someone else. You have enough to get started. You may not know everything, but you know enough to get started. And maybe that's what makes it easier to take on this wisdom, because we've acquired the necessary experience with this, with the way that we started. Through doing it ourselves, we've required the necessary experience to contextualize this wisdom. So it's like, oh, I haven't gone through this exact same scenario and situation, but I can draw parallels to where I am. And so it makes sense. It makes sense in a way that it wouldn't have if we hadn't gone about doing it ourselves. If this is more like 3D, this could be because that was about networking. The networking side of Capricorn is like, yeah, I can do it myself, but networks are also important. We could meet someone, or it maybe isn't even necessarily about like meeting a person. It's like we position ourselves to maybe even overhear because it's in reverse. It's not communicated to us directly, but it's like, oh, so like let's say that throughout the course of you doing whatever you're doing, you hit the roadblock that is the Two of Swords in reverse. It's an involuntary stop and wait. And then you overhear somebody say something, or you bump into somebody, and it's like, again, you have a contextualizing experience. So it's like, oh, I could do something like that, but in this way for me. And then like it opens up, it's the Six of Swords, which is like a roadblocker because the Pentacle was in reverse. And maybe that's it too. There's a certain knowledge that you may not have had to move a pentacle forward, but when it comes to the information, maybe you didn't have the experience to contextualize it. So it's like, it's almost kind of like you need experience to get a job, but you have to have a job to get experience. So how do you do one without the other? It's like you need the knowing, you need a knowledge, like a specialized knowledge in order to do something well, but without any exposure to that thing, it's just useless information. Like I could explain to you all day long how to make a macro in Excel, but unless you're in Excel, like doing it, it's just information. So I'm gonna shuffle this one more time. I think I already shuffled it, but there are no more pages. So now we march boldly, brazenly forward to the Archangel Commander. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I wish I could show you this. I was literally just rearranging the cards because I have a lot more than I like. I'm getting more and more cards, so I got to move them on the table. Under the Initiate, so everything in between the Stronghold of the Flame, those three cards, the King and Queen of Wands with the Two of Swords in reverse, the Eight of Wands in reverse, Page of Pentacles, Six of Swords upright. I have all to the side. I put this because it's a new sort of break in the message under the Initiate because it's the only place I have to put it. And then the first card out after I reshuffled the deck is the Seeker. So we go from the Initiate, Stronghold of the Zephyrs in reverse, to the Seeker, just like that. And this is like the central pillar. Everything that like those three areas that the Archangel Commander was like helping us build our confidence in or whatever is off to the right. Everything again that I was just talking about is off to the left, and in the middle it's just like what the Seeker came out under the Initiate. It's huge, and this is progress. The Initiate is brand new now because we have those contextualizing experiences. The knowledge makes sense. The information isn't just floating in our heads. It's not just 4 or 25. It's 4 apples, 3 oranges, more fruit. Going back to the garden is 25 fruits altogether. Cool. And now things won't be as difficult with the burdened one in reverse and the holy water upright. It's almost like all of that was prerequisite to whatever revelation is coming. Now we can stand on our own 2 feet. See how we're getting closer and closer to the Archangel Commander energy now? Now we have gone beyond. Look, the hands of the divine are like right there. Right there. But I say that because now the angel, I'll put it upright, but I've shuffled in a way that reversals will continue to be in the deck. The angel is upright, again, with the healer upright. What couldn't be healed before, when Temperance in reverse made me aware that the whole deck was in reverse, and then the strength came out upright, what couldn't be healed before, the loops and the cycles that couldn't be closed before, with that constantly being open instead of closed. Now that the angel is here with the healer right behind it. Less ropes, less bound, shining. It's like it doesn't have to continuously recycle. Now it can pour all of this out because it's so open to receive. And the Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles is the don't need a person card, famously. It's the one that's capable of standing on their own 2 feet, who is very self-sufficient. So we're going to just set this trio under the Seeker as an honorable mentions. Cool. Love it. I'm also curious, well, there it is, to see if the Archangel Commander will be upright or in reverse. It's in reverse. Four of Swords in reverse at the bottom of the deck. Oh, look, there's the angel in the window. The Warrior and the Four of Swords convalescent. The Sun and the Four of Swords. Right, I gotta go to the restroom again. I'll be right back, and then I'm gonna finish this, do a final message, and get on with my day. Whew, this is a long one. That's fine. All right. So, Seven of Pentacles in reverse, Archangel Commander in reverse, and the Demon in reverse. The Seven of Pentacles is the card that came out with the Knight of Pentacles. That is conveniently right here. The Knight of Pentacles was at the bottom of the deck, or the Knight of Pentacles was the last card that I pulled before this card, where I reshuffled it. But these two together, again, and the live I did last time, or the time before that, I don't remember. it was what it was. This is interesting. So with all of this being in reverse, it feels like the Seven of Pentacles is a card of cultivation, right? So it's like within our growth as individuals, it is not necessary, but possible for us to, it's like what Enoch and Elisha and like what Enoch and Elisha and the canon and non-canonical, I guess, Bible did by like becoming more while they were alive. What the people who became saints and the individuals who became bodhisattvas, I think bodhisattvas are like the people who lived and then become like more because of their exemplary lives. They could. I know it's a thing. I may be using the wrong word. Okay. It's like it's possible, but it's not necessary. It's not something that we have to do within the course of our lifetime. Any of them. It's like you can reach nirvana, right? And be freed of the reincarnation loop cycle without becoming a bodhisattva. You can live an exemplary life and like get to heaven without becoming a saint or without being raptured while you're still living and breathing. It's an opportunity. And maybe that's why it's not forced by Archangel Michael, or it's not forced by the Archangel Commander. Strongly encouraged, but not forced. And because the demon is in reverse, because the devil is in reverse, it's the north node instead of the south node. The north node in that Nine of Cups was the Archangel Commander. We don't have to overcome. We don't have to become immune to the wiles and deceit and trickery of the devil during the course of our lives. And we can still be faithful in everything, but we can. This is us being gifted and granted the powers of life by the divine. And I'm putting this right under, because again, this is the only place where I have room on the table. I'm putting this right under everything that the three things that Archangel Commander was helping us with. It goes below it, beneath it, it's right beneath it. And there was something I was about to say, but it slipped my mind. When I was talking about this. Oh, because of, she isn't here. I put her back on the deck. Because of the temptress. Because of, where did she go? I thought I left her on the table. Oh my gosh. I gotta take it. The keeper. So we've seen the initiate and the seeker upright. The keeper is also upright. But the cards she came in between, I'll just show you real quick. It's the Emperor upright and Justice, the Chancellor in reverse. Right? So Aries upright, North Node in Aries, Libra in reverse, South Node in Libra. When I was talking about how everything I was talking about earlier, how like Libra and justice, according to mankind, isn't necessarily what it is to the divine. Right. And how sometimes what seems right or just for us is just the preservation of the status quo, more so than it is actual justice. Right. Anyway. So I thought that was interesting. Where's the temptress? I really thought I left her out on the table. I guess I put her back into the fold. She is on the table. Where is she? Where did she go? Where is this card? Hello? That's one of my favorite things that I've gotten from my brother. Hello? It's like when you're on the phone and you're like, hello, is anyone there? But it's just like to express general whatever, like confusion. Hello? It's like, yeah, I'm still here. It's like, I know. Where did she go? She came out and, literally right here next to Isis. Oh my gosh. I was like, I know I left her on the table. The Temptress came out in reverse. And she was that card of like, she offers us vast sums of money because it weeds out in this particular scenario. But her energy on the positive side of temptation rather than, the typical shadow side of temptation. It's to separate those who like genuinely care about whatever the thing is from those who have other reasons for going about doing something. It's like if you don't really care about people, but you realize that it's a way to make a quick buck. And more than a quick buck, it may be a way to make a decent to significant, from a decent chunk of change to a significant sum of money. But the motivations behind why you do it is like if you want the money, you can get money in other ways. But this is important. It's important that those who are compassionate and caring and truly in service to people do this because people need someone who care at a time like this. Like we did the capitalistic thing where it's about the money. I became a doctor for the money. I became a nurse for the money. I became a teacher to get my loans forgiven because at least in America, there's not a lot of money in teaching. But if you teach in a Title I or whatever district, you can get forgiveness and other things. It's like I did it for the money. I'm not in this position of service because I care about people. And for the people who need someone kind and caring and compassionate when they are going through something or when their loved ones are going through something, to be met with anything but makes a difficult situation even more like rough and hard. Right? People who don't care about people shouldn't be caregivers because it's literally their job to care type of energy. So hers was the one that's just like, and again, it doesn't have to be judgmental or whatever. It's just like, if money is what you seek, there are other ways to get money. Here are some. Go and pursue that if that's what you want. It's about alignment, not about judgment at this point. And it's about discernment within ourselves as well. But yeah, because the devil's in reverse, and when I was saying like, we don't have to become resistant or immune to the charms and wiles and temptations of the devil in order to live a devout life. We don't have to become saints and become more in order for us to learn and grow, but it's possible. And then with that being North Node instead, that's what took me back to the temptation. That's literally on the, again, it's all on the same side because of the space, because of where the cards fell. But she was right next to Isis. It's the Inanna who becomes Inanna Ishtar. It's the Venus who is even more so after they reemerge from the underworld. It's the Phaeton who had to die, go through the underworld, and then come back in order to pull the chariot of his father. His birthright was something that he grew into. It wasn't something, um, what's the word? Not ordained. It's not something that he was entitled to through the circumstances of his birth. And it was his entitlement that got him killed in the first place and almost took the entire planet with it, with him. It was his arrogance. And against his father's better judgment, Apollo's better judgment, he was convinced. And then, of course, the sisters were punished. They were like turned into trees or whatever. Phaeton was sent to the underworld, and I forget what happens to the wife, the mom, anyway. And again, that makes me think of that quote that I saw. Um, it's like just because we experience hurt, pain, trauma, darkness, doesn't mean that we have to be made better or stronger by it. Those are choices and decisions that we make through the grace of the divine and the people in our lives and the efforts and willpower and determination that we ourselves hold that get us to be better, that get us to become more, that get us to come out on the other side of things. Sometimes, in some ways, things don't just get better, but we take advantage of opportunities that we're giving in life to make them better. And we do. And again, it's not something that we have to do. Like, this is feeling like purely optional. The Archangel Commander doesn't force, but it won't necessarily resolve either. So yeah, and then again, when I was going through the deck, and I didn't have to because the card was on the table, but I didn't see it. So I was this blind seer. I went looking even though I didn't have to, but because I went looking, I found the third and final fool, the fool that completes, the fool that grows so close to the divine that now they basically become a saint. This is like a saint in training. This is the one who can perform miracles, but this is the one that becomes a miraculous being or whatever, right? Like there's a difference between being able to perform miracles as a vessel through which the divine operates when it's important for like somebody or someone, when it's important for someone or something else. And again, it was the responsibility thing. To those who are responsible, much is given. It's almost like given free reign to, it's like being a free agent of the divine rather than like, here's a mission, here's a mission, here's a mission, go here and do this, go here and do that. It's like just being a light wherever you go. And so you get to have a lot more like freedom and autonomy in your life because it's not like, this is my purpose and this is my mission. I have to go here and do this, and then I have to go there and do that. It's like you will sow love and light and beauty. You will restore faith in humanity and the divine. You will help others see that there is more than darkness wherever you go through sheer virtue of being who you are. And because you are this light, much will be given to you to maximize your luminosity. And because you're not going to squander it and gamble it away, right? You have a stipend for gambling if you want to gamble, but control, right? At the start of all of these videos now, it seems I encourage responsible consumption. If you will consume, I encourage you to do so responsibly. Because I can't be on here and be like, I encourage you to be irresponsible. Even though some would say it's irresponsible to drink at 6 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, this is it. I think I'm going to take a picture and make it the thumbnail somehow. Or maybe I'll post it to the community page. Maybe I'll do both. Because you know how sometimes like there'll be a thumbnail for a video and you just like want to look at the picture, but you can't. All right. So because I'm going to take a picture, I can't do a final card, but I can open this book and read a passage, which is literally the whole reason why this book is here. So we'll get a final message from the City of Brass, and we'll see if it tells us anything. It was a strangely worded response, delivered with a hint of chiding that Ali had never heard from his mild mannered secretary. But before he could dwell on it, they reached a large room fronting an uncovered courtyard. Tattered curtains, patched where possible, were all that separated it from the chilly rain falling in the yard. So I'm going to take that final passage to mean we are approaching the seat of the high priestess. Not necessarily in this card in particular, but I do have a few decks where, like, well, I guess you can kind of see it. Well, not really. Where it's like there's a curtain that's behind her. Um, so it's like peering beyond the veil or reaching the veil. That is the tattered curtain in this cloister that is seemingly abandoned because maybe it's been a while. I wish, like, I don't know. I wish I could just be like, when was the last time somebody became a saint or a bodhisattva or an angel, like for real? You know what I mean? How long ago was that? Is it still happening? But it makes me think of Phanuel, the angel of truth, the one who waits at the one who waits at the throne. Oh, look, literally, duh. I didn't even need that passage to say it because the cards are right here. This is the fool when they are invited to have audience with the high priestess. And beyond having an audience with the high priestess, it's the fool that has the capacity to understand the high priestess. And it's the fool again who becomes the one capable of like just like it's like people would call it miraculous. People would say that that's a person who's capable of performing miracle, but it's like that's the true potential of what we are as humans, created in the image of a creator. We're creators. But first you gotta pass co-creation before you can get into just full-on, full-blown creation. You know what I mean? And to get into co-creation, you have to graduate from being created for. And again, we don't have to reach that point. It is not necessarily intended for all of us to. It isn't even necessarily intended for any of us to. But if we want to tap into that spark and fuel it into a flame, into a fire, into an inferno, to be a light with the rapturous light of the divine, the violet flame. So, I shouldn't have said it like that. I'm sorry. I don't mean it in that way. But to truly, be that and to be what it means in a way that is beyond, I manifested $5, which is still, I ain't knocking it, okay? Because your boy's been there, and your boy will still take $5 right now. But it's like there's a difference between what something has come to mean, and this is going back to like Libra-ish energy. Like there's a difference between true justice and societal law, right? Because some might say that in a world where justice is true, it doesn't matter how hard you work, you shouldn't be able to have billions of dollars while there are people who literally can't even afford food. And what world is it just or fair that you can have those who are so grossly and obscenely wealthy and those who are so grossly and obscenely underserved and underrepresented and undercared for and underappreciated? But, human justice will say, oh, well, they work for that money, so it's theirs. They have so much that they can do whatever. Oh, that's fine. Right. Again, when it comes to us as people, it's a lot more relative. Not to say that the divine is necessarily absolute, but we're also given the breadth, breadth, question mark. Is that how you spell it? Breadth or the birth. We're given the birth to have a whole number of experiences. So if our experience on earth doesn't fully represent or mirror what true whatever, it's because we have the ability to have whatever experience we want. But again, there's a difference between the easiest way for me to explain it is Reem. It really is. Like when she shared what her name means, like it means like dear now, but that's not what a reem is. A reem is the rare white gazelle. It has come to mean deer because all of the white gazelles are gone. And so it's just like there's a difference between what something has come to mean because of what our experience and our knowing is and what something is truly intended to be. Going back to communication and conversation, right? You could be communicating something to somebody and they hear word for word what you say, but they take it in a completely different way because to them, the words mean different things based on their experiences and their knowledge of the word. You know how many words, at least in the English language, have literally changed? Some words mean the exact opposite of what they used to mean because that's how life progressed. And it's just what it is now. You know what I mean? So anyway, interesting. I almost put these cards away. I really want to take a picture. And it mentioned rain. Well, we have water here and water here. Water both. Moon in Cancer. Oh my gosh, Moon in Cancer and the High Priestess is right there. It's the moon and the moon rules Cancer. I don't even think I caught that. Anyway. And then the stronghold of. Hey, Sandra. I'm sorry. I saw you, but I didn't want to lose my train of thought. How are you doing this morning? Wow. What are the majors on the table? I'll try to go in order that they came out. We have the Empress, the High Priestess, the Initiate, which is the first fool, Strength. This is all minors. There are no majors over here. And then we get more majors after the Stronghold of the Zephyrs in the Seeker, the Angel, the Healer, and then the Devil in reverse. I think the Devil is the only major that's in reverse. Empress upright, High Priestess upright, the Initiate upright. Oh, and then the Chancellor. I forgot about those three. The Force, which is Strength, is upright. The Seeker, second fool, is upright. The Angel and the Healer, which is Temperance and the Star, both upright. The Emperor is upright. The Keeper, which is the third fool, is upright. The Demon, the Devil, is in reverse. Justice is in reverse, the Chancellor. Now I'm curious, because that's cardinal energy. Aries, Libra, Capricorn. What's cardinal? The Chariot in this deck. Mutable signs are on Temperance, the Angel. You can see them on her sash. See right there. No fixed energies. Leo. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. It's almost 3 hours later. I don't even know what I'm going to title this. Your mission, should you choose to accept, because it's a choice and you don't have to. But that's um, maybe the Archangel Commander, the saga. Saga is my word today for the past 24 hours, or 12 apparently. The saga of the Archangel Commander coming to a close. You know what's actually funny? I had a dream a while ago at this point. Let's see. I had a dream that management was changing. Like management on Earth was changing. And uh, there was like new angels that were being born. Basically. And like there was a question. So there was in the ceremony, it's like January 25th, 2020, I think was the day or the night I had this dream. Yeah. So went to a company retirement party. One of my friends was there, and one of my other friends and my dad. There was a ceremony to determine the host of an angel, or who was connected to an angel, or who was the incarnation of one. I don't remember, though it could have been whatever. There was an announcer who was talking, and the announcer was like, who in the audience is like this person? And people were like, me. And the question that the announcer asked to verify the like the new angel or whatever was like, who was the father? And the answer was like Nick Offerman. I was like, what? Nick Offerman is the father, apparently. And they're like, ding, ding, ding. So anyway, I had that dream January 25th, 2020. And nearly 4 years later, the conclusion of this happens. I mean, before that, before the Archangel Commander came out with the challenge, it was the Archangel of Healing and Holy Water, King of Cups, Ace of Cups energy. That was the spiritual dissolution, spiritual sensory deprivation tank. And the spiritual sensory deprivation tank was us basically being dissolved into very like different molecular sized versions of our essence. So like there's our light, our dark, our id, ego, super ego, inner child, our governing personality, like the one that we wear or whatever, who we think we are. And it's like they get separated, and then like everything, like stuff that people have instilled in us, things that we picked up societally through like just growing up in wherever we were from. Uh, it's like it was categorized into like light and dark and other things. And then those were broken down. And in the breakdown of the light and the dark, the inner child, everything else, you get to see like what is yours and what you've picked up. And the point is to basically separate out all of your self generated aspects, or the aspects that reign true for you, from those that don't, and then to come back together. the coming back together part didn't necessarily ever come out. But the spiritual sensory deprivation is like let's see that like your light. There are things that people have said about you, and there are things that you appreciate about you. And it's like you're a hard worker or whatever. But it's like you're a hard worker because you've had to be, because you've had to step up when you were a child. You've had to do things that aren't for children to do, but it made you very responsible. And you've always been the responsible, mature one. So that's been thrust on you. And maybe you take pride in your ability to do it and do it well. But like, it's not that you're irresponsible, but it's like ultimately, it's not for you to be the caretaker of everyone. And so that's something that's like put upon you that is your light, but it's not yours. And so, like, it's mostly for awareness, right? So you can be aware of that. But like the farmers and the fishermen, like the farmer wants to farm and they fish when it's necessary, but they don't become fishermen because it's necessary. They do it while it's necessary until the fishermen come, and then they go back to farming. They do what they love and what is for them to do. Anyway, that came out for a while. It was about us seeing ourselves both light and dark. There's darkness within us that like maybe someone always told you that you're selfish, and so you think that you're selfish, and so you try to be selfless. But the person that told you, the people maybe that told you that you're selfish, were self-serving. They wanted to take advantage of you, and you having boundaries was you being selfish. It's selfish of you to go out and work hard and not pay my bills because I drink all my money away. Wow, I can't believe you'd be so selfish. And it's like, girl, it ain't my job to pay your bills. When you got money and you choose to not be responsible with it, you're an adult. Those are your choices. That's your life. I'm not selfish if I can't afford it this month because I have a major expense. That type of energy. But maybe, again, depending on circumstances, there are things that are more easily rooted within us than not. And then you see your dark and you're like, selfishness, I'm not selfish. I'm actually incredibly selfless. So that shadow, that darkness, that's not mine. That's not true for me. No, believe you me, I have my darkness and I have my shadows. Maybe I'm actually selfish. No, wait. I feel like that just ruined the whole metaphor. I'm not selfish. Maybe I'm actually like selfless to a point of, well, I guess that would be like the opposite. Well, not the opposite, but it's almost like it's the manifestation of that. And it becomes a shadow because it's like I don't take care of myself. I don't consider myself enough in life when it comes to making choices and decisions. I wouldn't put my own mask on first. So no, my darkness is not that I'm selfish. My darkness is that I'm too busy putting everyone else's life jacket on that I'm drowning. Anyway, that was what it was at first. I don't think I'm trying to think of the other kings, but not all queens speak to me either. The Queen of Cups for sure, the Queen of Pentacles in this deck for sure speak to me. The King of Swords through the Archangel Commander now speaks to me. The King of Pentacles, the Archangel of Mysteries does, but it wasn't as like significant. Meaning like there wasn't a series of contexts that the card kept coming up in. So I guess, yeah, it'd be the King of Pentacles and the King of Swords because, well, no, the King of Cups, Archangel of Healing, yes. The Archangel Commander, yes. The Ebony Shield, yes. The Ivory Shield, yes. Anyway. Oh. I forgot. We have these two over here. These. Maybe this is a question. Maybe this is a question. So, if you've sat with me through the 3 hours of this, thank you, Sandra. If you've sat with me through this 3 hours of video, or if you've sat with me enough in this video, because I was like, in the end, I don't know why they're out now, but I'm going to hold them because they're significant. Can you now see what at least I didn't see the first time these cards came out? Archangel of Glory with the golden shield and the blind seer that were all in reverse. And it felt like they contribute in some way that is very significant and very important. And at the end of everything, when the Archangel Commander comes out, it's like, we're going to see why. We're going to know why. Do you see why? Do you know why? What doth it speak for you? All right. And with that, I bid thee a farewell, adieu, and everything else in between. I still don't have a title. Excuse me. I think I want to work the initiate, the seeker, and the keeper into the title somehow. Maybe like the seeker of secrets kept initiated. I feel like, honestly, though, I feel like the biggest through line is the birthright thing. And it's the birthright of like achieved through maturation more so than an entitlement because of the circumstances of one's birth. It's almost like if you're born into a family of musicians or cooks, we'll do chefs, we'll do cooks. You're born into a family of cooks, and so your birthright is to be a great cook. And so you go into the kitchen and you make a mess and you're all like proud or whatever. And it's like, that doesn't make you a great chef, right? Just because you're born into a family of chefs. But let's say that in your line, ancestrally, it's like everybody has a perfect palate. And that's what makes them such good cooks. And so it's almost like through a journey of experiencing many different flavors and foods and culinary techniques, you know how to supplement a dish. Because it's almost like even if you have a perfect palate, you wouldn't know what something is missing unless you had tried it, right? Like, it's the difference between knowing, okay, this dish needs something with a little kick that complements a citrusy flavor, and knowing this dish needs paprika. I'm making it up, girl. I don't know. Like, it's the difference between like knowing what the actual thing is, right? Because you can know what something needs all day long, but if you don't know how to fulfill that need, knowing is half of the battle, but it's only half of the battle. Right? You still got to fight the rest. And it's like it's the living life, it's the exploration, it's the maturing into a fine chef by tasting many different flavors the world over, that you go, oh, this dish needs paprika. It will make this pop and it will mute this a little bit. It's like, it'll make this less sour. It'll accentuate that flavor, and it'll bring a harmony to the palate of this dish that would make it sublime, girl. Michelin 5 billion. You know what I mean? A Michelin star, what about 5 billion Michelin stars? I don't know how Michelin stars work. I just know that it's apparently fancy if a restaurant has one. Um, but yeah, and like that's the thing. It's the conditions of one's birth that positions them to be exceptional. But it's like it requires more than that. Anyway, de nada, no problem. So yes, I would title it something like that. Because I think sometimes it's like it can be easy to go so heavy on the like we're made in the image of the creator, we are all gods and goddesses, like we are all this and that. But again, like Phaeton, pride comes before a fall. And it doesn't matter what lineage you descend from or who your parents are, if you aren't it, you know what I mean? There are people who are born in families of perfect palates that don't have a perfect palate. Birth only gets you so much. And again, it's like with this Seven of Pentacles in reverse, Archangel Commander in reverse, and the Demon in reverse, this is not something that is guaranteed to happen. It's not something that's necessary. It's not something that has to happen. And so in that way, it won't resonate for everybody. But that's also been communicated, like I feel, maybe not, but every time this comes up, it's like if this doesn't resonate for you, it don't resonate for you. And it like I think sometimes it is human to want something, right? Like everyone wants to be special, everyone wants to be unique. Like who wouldn't want to be a divine autonomous creator being physically incarnate on earth, right? Who would hear that and go like, oh yeah, no, I'm good. Like I could like literally manifest and create the life that I want. No, I don't think that's for me. But again, like for what the things that we manifest require, are we willing to grow and mature and evolve in the ways that we need to in order to like, are we willing to go out and travel the world and sample food that we may be afraid of, that we may not think is good or appetizing, that might look a little weird or whatever, so that when it comes time for us to make a dish, we know more than just like, oh, well, this needs something. I don't know what it is, but I know it's missing. And like, oh, this needs paprika. It needs a little bit of cumin. It needs a banana or an apple or a Ella loaf, whatever Ella loaf is. Ella is a bread, and it's a loaf of bread. Ella loaf. Like, what else is a loaf? Okay. Anyway, like, and again, like that's the difference. Um, and it isn't something that we have to. We can live a good life, an exemplary life, and that not be whatever. And again, because I remember the last time, maybe the time before last, when the Archangel Commander came up, and it was like, this is the purpose. This is someone who has an ancestry that they're not like bound by. Like, it's like whatever that in particular was, it's like if your truth is that it is not your job to take on the mantle of your ancestors and to do right what they did wrong, if ancestral trauma and blood ties and all of that, like if that's not your gig, the way that I'm reading this probably isn't for you, because this Archangel Commander is coming out to honor the one who took on that burden, who took on that mantle, and who carries their line and their families forward, who resolves it, who does more than just say, this isn't for me to heal and face, when it's literally your problem, because this is literally who you are. Like, you're doing it. Like, if it's something that you don't do, then like that's one thing. But if you're in the situation and you're suffering, because of it, how else do you alleviate your suffering but if not to address it? Nobody wants a whole bunch of stuff, right? If we could choose, we'd probably all be born into well-off, affluent families. You know what I mean? Well, some people are weird and they wouldn't, but a lot of people would choose to live a life that is free of suffering and misery and hurt and pain and trauma. Literally, who wouldn't? And I think, again, it's like sometimes, and maybe it is I don't want to say it's a disservice because there is truth in everything. And everything, there is at least a bit of truth, right? It's like, let's say there's a story about a man named Jack, and the only truth in that story is that it was a human, but it was a woman, and her name was Jennifer. But there was a human that did this. Just wasn't a man. Wasn't a man named Jack. Wasn't a man named Jack from Sussex. Wasn't a man named Jack from Sussex who was born to a carpenter. All of that's a lie, but you know, the human part is true. Or yeah, this person actually existed, or like, well, there was a person who like created a story about this, so in their head this was true. So technically, there was a kid who imagined a man named Jack from Sussex who was born to a carpenter. And that's as far as the truth goes with this one. It's true that it was imagined. It's true that this lie was told. Yeah, that's true. I have heard that lie. I don't know. Anyway, it's fine. It's like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It feels like, I don't want to call it like pop spirituality. But it's just like with anything, right? Like, let's say that someone goes on a mission trip and they are sharing the glory of God with people. And it's like, but it's like the difficult things, like you can talk about it like God delivered me from this and God delivered me from that. And when people hear it, they only think of the deliverance, but you don't necessarily think about what the suffering through that thing was like before you were delivered from it. You know what I mean? And then so it's like, you hear that God delivered me from this, and you're like, oh my gosh. But I guess, I don't know, we don't think that we necessarily have to suffer before that deliverance comes. You know what I mean? Or something. Or it's like we fixate and we focus more on the positive outcomes more so than the day-to-day life that we live in between. Or it's like, yeah, like the divine, like I manifested this dream job and I faced this rejection after this rejection and all of these failed attempts, but eventually I got there. But again, when you're listening to it and when you're getting hyped up, you're not necessarily empathizing or digging as deeply into all of the hurt, the pain, the trauma, the disappointment, the betrayal that they're talking about. It's just like, when you heal, sometimes it recontextualizes the past in a way that it's like while we're going through something, there's so much attention and so much emotional weight that's on the suffering. But after we come out of it, it's like, we have more distance, we have more perspective. So anyway, sometimes it requires a little bit of work. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes there are lows. And it's the graciousness and it's the goodness of the divine that sees us achieve a higher high after a low a lot of times. But we go through a low and then we're like, well, that was a load of BS. That was a crock of crap. They didn't talk about this. And it was like, yeah, girl, they did. people be real quick to be like, I wish somebody would have told me that the healing journey involved this and it involved that. And it's like, well, they did tell you. I was going through these dark nights of the soul. I was going through these traumas. I experienced this when I was a child, but it's through the grace of God and it's through this or it's through that that I was able to overcome it. Girl, that was them telling you how hard it was. That was them telling you that the sucky part sucked. But your eyes were so full of hope for salvation that you kind of glossed over it, you know? Or it's like, again, I experienced multiple failures, but I knew that it was coming. And now that you're experiencing failure, now that you're experiencing a setback, now that you're suffering, you're like, nobody told me it was like this, girl. It was also part of the pitch. They told you. It don't always happen the first time. But it's that, that whatchamacallit, and not giving up and this and that. Perseverance. There you go. And sometimes, they don't. Sometimes they don't tell us or tell you, but sometimes it is also a part of the message. It ain't easy, but they say that most things that are easy aren't worthwhile. And beyond ease, it's about establishing new habits and patterns. It's about breaking ties and bonds to old ones. It's about true from the depths of the heart, mind, body, or soul healing. It's not superficial. And because it isn't superficial, sometimes it's going to require effort, sometimes it's going to be taxing, and sometimes it won't be. You get out what you put into it, and nothing is required. So you ain't got to get nothing either. Because nothing is required of you, you are entitled to nothing. You're entitled to nothing beyond the opportunity to witness better, see better, experience better, and then make better choices and better decisions to be supported through the difficult times. You are entitled to support, but being entitled to support doesn't necessarily mean that you are immune to and from difficulty and hardship, or that you will receive instantaneous resolution when you want it. Supporting and encouraging someone isn't always doing something for them. Also, there are two north nodes on the table now. I'm just now seeing this because the devil came out up in reverse. There are two north node here and a north node there. If this was upright, there would be a north node and south node. If this were in reverse, there would be two south nodes. But because it came out like this, there are two north nodes. So maybe it is a part of your destiny. But it's a part of your destiny to mature and to fulfill, not to be born entitled great. Right? Maybe like it's your destiny to become great, even though it wasn't the circumstances of your birth to be born great. Anyway, I'm just the dude who's reading ink and paper and plastic, who's processing the world just like everybody else, who's doing his best to be discerning and intuitive and to sit and to witness and observe and truly see within me and outside of me. And to know, well, I guess I've been pretty aware of myself. Like I'm the type of person who it's like I would take zeros on homework in a class and not be surprised if I failed it. Right? Like I didn't do the homework. I skipped a final. I'm not surprised that I failed this class. I'm not entitled. I don't feel entitled to extra credit or whatever. And I don't have the dollars to just shove into somebody's pocket to pay my way. You know what I mean? But it's like, I didn't do the work. I don't expect to be paid. And when I made the choice to not do the work, I knew and I expected to not be paid. But there are some people who really be like, I guess if you ain't never had to work and if you're used to getting something, then it becomes reasonable to a certain extent. to expect to be compensated even though you haven't done work. It's like, well, I never had to work before. I didn't have to work at my last 5 jobs and I still got paid. It's like, well, baby, why aren't you still there? You know what I mean? What made you leave? Is it because they got tired of paying you for nothing? It's fine. That last part wasn't necessary. It's fine. Anyway, all right. I've rambled this from like 2 hours and 40 minutes to 3 hours and 12. Oh my gosh, 6 seconds. I looked at the time, it was 3:11:28, and I was like, is my time like is my live stopped? And then it jumped from 3:11:28 to 3:11:34. My time used to be so smooth. I don't know why it's so like it's jumping in chunks now. It's fine anyway, it doesn't matter. Hey David, also goodbye. This is the end of the video. I hope you're doing well though. I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that you are acting with intuition and discernment. If this ain't for you, don't take it. If my truth ain't your truth, take it as far as you can, I guess, as far as it may or may not be beneficial, and abandon the rest. Seek out your own truth, live your own truth, walk your own path, proceed down your nexus of destinies or your corridor of fate in the way that is for you to, right? Like it is for us to go about things in our own way. And my way may not be your way. Your way probably for sure ain't my way. My way, or the way that I think maybe my way, could only be my way as long as I'm living in fear or limitation, or as long as I'm trying to get the easy way, right? But I may reach a point where I'm like, you know what? That way got me this far, but it can't take me any further, because what I want of me is greater than I'm capable of being right now. And so this is as far as I go. And until I reach the point where I am willing to do more, until I stop being an obstacle in my own path, or until I ease um, resistance on other paths to allow more fluid flow, this is where I am. And I'm stubborn enough to be like, you know what? I accept that. I am consciously choosing to be miserable because I don't want to do that. Like I don't feel like eating vegetables. I don't. So if I'm a little lethargic and bloated, I'm gonna be lethargic and bloated because spinach ain't going in this body. My mama ain't named me Popeye. Hello, she named me Patrick. Patrick likes cheeseburgers. I'm kidding. Anyway, I will catch y'all later. I hope, again, that whatever is for you, you find and you feel comfortable in navigating in the way that is for you. But I also hope that you find support and community, because that's nice. We're not necessarily meant to be solitary beings, but maybe some of us are. I don't know. Who knows?